Everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Now this is part 2 of the series on the history of the Cooler Force. Now if you remember back in part 1, I covered the basic history and everything, so I did all that and went through that and everything. Now I'm gonna go, I had mentioned something about what if Cooler brought more than just the armored squadron with him when he left. And I went through it, and I will say this concerning one of the some of those that left. One of them, yes, it was this one character was not in the what if part of the Tenkaichi series, but we did not get that character until Kakarot, but it is canon. This character is canon, so when I get to that character, I'll explain the character and you will understand why I added the character in on this part instead of bringing it in on the later part. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with, as I said, the what if. Now these are the ones that left with Cooler at the time, the ones that Cooler wanted. And starting with that, we got the Kui Race Scout. This character was in Budokai Tenkaichi series, and it was in the what if part. And of course, he is the one that we know for a fact is one of the ones that left with Cooler. Now, we know this. If you played the game and you went to this part of the game, you see the approaches Frieza, lets him know Cooler's calling, and everything. So, this is that character. Now, we don't know much about the character. We've only seen it in that one part. That's it. Now, there are other characters that I will cover right here, right now, that we'll get into. Starting with, of course, Ginyu. Now, I believe that, as I said before, this would be the body that Ginyu got after his loss to Salza. And, of course, he would use this body. And, of course, instead of staying with Frieza, Cooler would approach him and tell him his idea and his plans, and then offer Ginyu this option, including, of course, creating the Ginyu Force and him being in the command of it and being an elite unit within the Cooler Force. So I believe, of course, he would go to Ginyu. Next one would be Banyu. This is the one I mentioned. This is the one that we got in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. But we do know for a fact that canonically she was the first member to join the Ginyu Force. Now, of course, she later left because she couldn't stand the posing. But, of course, she would be the first. And so Banyu is in here. I'm pretty sure Cooler would have put her at a different position, but of course Banyu would be there. Next would be Jace, the second in command of the Ginyu Force, and the third member to join the Ginyu Force. Followed that by Raccoon, who would also be a part of the Ginyu Force, Birder, and of course Gildo. Now, or Guldo, I still don't remember how his name was pronounced. But anyway, all these characters would, of course, go with Ginyu. All the members of the Ginyu Force would, of course, go with Ginyu and go with Cooler by extension. And this would be the Cooler Force at the time. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there'll be others. I'm going to keep doing research. But I believe, of course, the Ginyu Force would go because like I said, Cooler Cooler saw something in Ginyu, and he admired it, and he wanted Ginyu in his forces. That is known. Cooler respected Ginyu. And of course, as I said, Ginyu would have gotten this body. We know it's muscular, it's strong, and he could use it. And Cooler would see this, and he'll say, okay, I want you to come with me. Dad's giving it to Frieza. Frieza's a brat. He don't know what he's doing. I'm a better leader, blah, blah, blah. And of course, Ginyu, and I'll allow you to make your own elite forces. You can do what you want. I give you free reign. Just make sure you do what I also request. And they would be right up there with the Armored Squadron. So this would be another elite unit. So I'm thinking with Cooler would pretty much put together and his forces nothing but elite units. There would be no individual yada yada BS, and these guys would be that. Of course, there'd be, like I said, there'd be a scout unit, everything. It'd be a whole, however Cooler sets it up and everything. And I do believe he would keep Banyu in the Cooler Force, but put her in charge of the scout forces. Of course, she would still be wearing the Ginyu armor and the Ginyu Forces armor and everything, but yeah. So this is as I said, this is part 2. The part 3, I'm gonna really touch up on it, because in part 3 it's gonna come down to another thing, but except what the fans think, what the fans designed. And I believe if they were canon and if Akira Toriyama himself designed them, these next ones would also be in the Cooler Force, but at a higher position. So, with that being said, if you like the videos, click on my channel. You can go to the playlist, and the first video's up on there, and this one will be up on there too. And with that being said, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more videos. And I will see you in the next video.